Ambassador Vera's crystalline wings trembled as she stood before the Galactic Council. The normally iridescent membranes had grown dull with exhaustion and worry. Behind her, holographic displays showed the devastation of her homeworld, cities reduced to ash, forests burning, and millions of Nalari refugees fleeing from the relentless Chronaxian assault. "Honorable Council," she began, her melodic voice carrying across the vast chamber, "I stand before you not as a diplomat, but as the voice of a dying people. The Chronaxian Empire murders our children, burns our cities, and destroys our art, all because we refuse to surrender our resources to their war machine." The council chamber, housed in a massive space station at the galaxy's heart, held representatives from 30 of the most powerful civilizations. Their faces, some scaled, others furred, and a few purely energy-based, showed varying degrees of concern and discomfort. High Counselor Genevieve, a being of pure light contained within an ornate mechanical shell, spoke first. "The Council sympathizes with the Nalari plight, Ambassador. However, direct intervention in conflicts between sovereign powers violates our most sacred principles." Vera's wings flashed red with anger. "Principles? While you debate principles, my people die? The Chronaxians claim we attacked first, a lie. We are scholars, artists, healers. In our entire history, we have never raised weapons against another species. The evidence presented by the Chronaxian delegation suggests otherwise," countered Delegate Mora, her serpentine form coiling tighter around her hover platform. "They provided records of Nalari ships attacking their mining operations." "Falsified." Vera's voice cracked with desperation. "They fabricated those records to justify their invasion. Please, send your own investigators. See the truth with your own eyes." The chamber erupted in murmurs as council members discussed among themselves. Vera watched hope slipping away with each passing moment. The Chronaxians had planned this well, she realized. They had spent years building alliances, trading favors, and ensuring that when they finally moved against the Nalari, no one would dare stand against them. Then she remembered the stories. Tales passed down through generations about another species, one that had fought in the galaxy long ago. A species that had proven so formidable that their brief appearance in galactic affairs had become legend. "What about the humans?" Vera asked suddenly. The chamber fell silent. Several council members visibly recoiled at the mention of humanity. "The humans." High Counselor Genevieve's light dimmed momentarily. "They have isolated themselves in their solar system for over 50 years. After the Accord Wars, they made it clear they wanted no part in galactic politics. But they still exist," Vera pressed. "And they once fought to protect others. The histories say they stood against impossible odds to defend weaker civilizations." "The humans are dangerous," Delegate Mora hissed. "Unpredictable. They don't understand the delicate balance of galactic politics. Their solution to every problem is overwhelming force." "Good," Vera said firmly. "Because overwhelming force is exactly what we need." Later that night, in her private quarters aboard the council station, Vera accessed restricted archives. The council had forbidden contact with Earth, but what choice did she have? Her people were dying. The archived footage showed human ships in combat during the Accord Wars. They were technically inferior to their opponents but fought with shocking intensity. When their vessels were damaged, instead of retreating, they would ram their ships into larger enemy craft. When outnumbered, they employed strategies that other species considered insane. They had won. The Merc Collective, which had thought humans would be easy prey, ceased to exist after the war. Vera's wings shimmered with determination as she prepared the message. She would show Earth everything: the Chronaxian attacks, the suffering of her people, the Council's refusal to help. Humans understood justice, the archives said. They had an instinct to protect the innocent that bordered on sacred duty. As she encoded the transmission with Earth's coordinates, Vera whispered a prayer to the starlight. "Please," she said softly, "let them answer. Let them remember what it means to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." The message streaked across light years of space, carrying with it the hopes of a dying civilization. Soon, humanity would face a choice: remain in isolation, or once again step into the galaxy as defenders of the innocent. And in the darkness between stars, the Chronaxian Empire continued its advance, unaware that they were about to wake a sleeping giant. Fleet Commander Olivia Hayes stood at the window of Lunar Command, watching Earth's blue sphere dominate the horizon. 50 years of isolation had transformed humanity's military doctrine. They had built defenses that made the solar system a fortress, developed technologies that no other species would dare attempt, and maintained a constant state of readiness despite decades of peace. The Nulari distress signal had arrived 3 days ago. Now, Hayes studied the holographic display showing the alien ambassador's desperate plea. Behind her, the Joint Defense Council had assembled, the 12 highest-ranking military leaders from Earth's unified forces. "Play it again," ordered General Marcus Chun, his weathered face illuminated by the hologram's glow. The message replayed, showing scenes of devastation. Crystalline cities shattered by Chronaxian weapons. Winged beings fleeing from mechanical hunters. Children with broken wings huddled in underground shelters. "The Chronaxians are methodical," Colonel Javier Rodriguez noted, manipulating the tactical display. "They're not just conquering. They're systematically destroying Nulari culture, their art, their histories, their very identity." "Genocide," Hayes said quietly. "They're not just killing a species. They're erasing them from existence." The room fell silent. Humanity had its own dark history of such atrocities. They had learned the hard price of standing idle while innocents suffered. Director Prisha Patel of Intelligence stepped forward. "The Nulari aren't lying about being peaceful. Our deep space monitoring has tracked the Chronaxian Empire's expansion for decades. They fabricate pretexts for invasion, then strip worlds of resources and enslave populations. If we help the Nulari," General Chen cautioned, "we break our isolation. We'll be drawn back into galactic politics whether we want it or not." Hayes turned from the window, her face set with determination. "We isolated ourselves to build strength, not to hide forever. What's the point of all our preparations if we won't use them to stop this?" The council chamber's door slid open as Secretary General Kwame Okafor entered. As Earth's highest-ranking civilian leader, his presence brought everyone to attention. "The World Assembly has voted," he announced. "The decision was unanimous. We will answer the Nulari call for aid." Hayes felt a surge of fierce pride. Despite 50 years of isolation, humanity hadn't lost its core values. "Commander Hayes," Okafor continued, "you'll lead the response force. How soon can the fleet deploy?" Hayes smiled grimly. "We've been running readiness drills for exactly this scenario. First wave can launch in 12 hours. Full fleet deployment in 36. The Chronaxians have better technology," Rodriguez warned. "Their ships are more advanced, their weapons more sophisticated." "Good," Hayes replied. "They've grown comfortable with technological superiority. They've forgotten what it's like to face an enemy who refuses to accept defeat." In the following hours, humanity's war machine awakened. Deep beneath the lunar surface, massive hangar doors opened as ships that had never seen combat prepared for launch. The first wave would consist of 40 ships led by Hayes' flagship, the UES Defiant. On the Defiant's bridge, Hayes reviewed the tactical updates. The Chronaxians had superior technology, but their tactics were predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and expected enemies to surrender when faced with their apparent invincibility. "They've never fought humans," Hayes muttered, studying the enemy formations. "They don't know that we turn disadvantages into weapons." Lieutenant Commander David Okoro, her tactical officer, approached with a data pad. "Engineering reports all ships are combat ready. They've implemented the theoretical modifications we developed for alien encounters." "Theoretical until now," Hayes said. "Time to test them in real combat." As the fleet made final preparations, Hayes recorded a message for the crew. "In our history, humanity has faced countless moments where we had to choose between comfortable silence and painful action. Today, a peaceful species faces extinction. They called to us for help when no one else would answer. We could have stayed safe in our solar system, but that's not who we are. We are humanity, and we do not watch innocents die when we can prevent it." The great ships of Earth's fleet rose from their lunar berths, engines burning bright against the black of space. 50 years of isolation had not dulled their weapons or their resolve. The Chronaxians were about to learn why humanity's brief appearance in galactic affairs had become legend. As the fleet prepared for its first faster-than-light jump, Hayes sent a short message back to Earth. "The giant awakens. May the stars witness that we haven't forgotten how to fight for what's right." The Defiant led the fleet into the void, carrying with it humanity's answer to a desperate plea for help. The Chronaxian Empire was about to discover that technological superiority meant little against an enemy who had turned warfare into an art of the impossible. The Nulari homeworld hung in space like a shattered jewel. Once beautiful crystal spires now lay in ruins, their rainbow surfaces dulled by the constant bombardment. Chronaxian warships circled the planet in precise patterns. their black holes decorated with red stripes denoting their kill counts. On the bridge of the Chronaxian command vessel Inevitable Victory, Supreme Commander Kex watched the systematic destruction with satisfaction. His species' cybernetic enhancements glowed beneath translucent skin as he processed tactical data. Status report, he demanded. The last Nalari defense shield will fail within hours, his second-in-command reported. Their underground bunkers cannot withstand our new penetrator weapons. Total victory is assured. Kex's artificial eyes gleamed. The Nalari had refused to submit to the Empire's demands, claiming their world's crystal formations were sacred. Such sentiment was irrelevant. The crystals would fuel the next phase of Chronaxian expansion. Supreme Commander, the sensor officer's urgent tone broke protocol. Multiple FTL signatures detected. 43 unknown vessels approaching in attack formation. Impossible, Kex snarled. The Nalari have no allies. The Council wouldn't dare. The sensor officer's face paled. Sir, receiving transmission from the lead vessel. A human face appeared on the main screen. Commander Hayes looked at the Chronaxian leader with cold determination. This is Commander Olivia Hayes of the United Earthship Defiant. You are conducting a genocide against the Nalari people. Withdraw your forces immediately or be destroyed. Kex's cybernetic systems analyzed the human ships. Primitive weapons. Inferior shielding. Outdated propulsion. He laughed, the sound metallic through his enhancements. Humans. The isolationists. You hide in your system for decades, and now you think to challenge the Empire? Your ships are obsolete. Your weapons are primitive. Retreat now, and we may spare Earth when we eventually reach your sector. Hayes didn't smile. You have 1 minute to begin withdrawal. Your species' reputation for bravery borders on stupidity, Kex sneered. Weapons, target their flagship. Show them the price of defiance. The minute passed. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The human fleet didn't follow any known tactical doctrine. They accelerated to maximum speed, executing maneuvers that should have torn their ships apart. Impossible, Kex's tactical officer shouted. Their inertial compensators can't handle those stresses. They modified their compensators, the science officer realized with horror. They're redirecting the stress into their structural integrity fields, using the energy to reinforce their shields. Hayes' voice came through the command channel. Did you think we spent 50 years doing nothing? Every simulation, every drill, every modification was preparation for this moment. The human fleet split into 3 groups. Battle Group Alpha, led by Captain Natasha Volkov, targeted the Chronaxian support ships. Their primitive, railguns fired projectiles at relativistic speeds, overwhelming shields designed to stop energy weapons. Battle Group Beta, under Colonel Wei Chun, employed what they called Wolfpack tactics. Small groups of ships worked in concert, using complex maneuvers to isolate and destroy larger Chronaxian vessels. On the Defiant, Hayes led Battle Group Charlie in a direct assault on the Inevitable Victory. All ships, execute Maneuver Thermopylae. The human vessels began what looked like a suicide run. Kex smiled at their apparent desperation. Then his tactical officer screamed. They're not trying to ram us. They're using their ship's wake to create a quantum tunneling effect. Our shields. The Inevitable Victory's supposedly impenetrable shields collapsed as the human ships passed by, their engineered wake creating a microscopic tunnel through the defensive barrier. Conventional weapons wouldn't have had time to exploit the split-second gap. But the humans hadn't brought conventional weapons. Boarding pods, launched microseconds after the shield collapse, attached to the Chronaxian flagship. Earth's elite zero-G combat teams, in powered armor that made them look like demons of ancient myth, cut their way inside. Security breach in multiple sectors. Kex's internal systems blared warnings as human warriors stormed through his ship. They moved with practiced precision, using tactics no other species had conceived. How? He demanded as reports of lost sectors flooded in. How are they breaching our internal defenses? Sir, his science officer's voice shook. They're using our own cybernetic signals against us. They studied our transmissions and developed countermeasures. They're not just fighting our ships, they're hacking our enhanced soldiers. Throughout the system, the battle raged. Human ships took horrible damage but refused to retreat. When their main weapons were destroyed, they used their engines as weapons. When their engines failed, they converted their reactors into bombs. On the Defiance Bridge, Hayes watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Signal the Nalari. Tell them to hold on. The cavalry has arrived. Ambassador Vera, watching from her hidden bunker on the surface, felt her wings shine with hope for the first time in months. The legends were true. Humanity hadn't forgotten how to fight for justice. Above the crystal world, the battle continued. The Chronaxians were learning a harsh lesson. Technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy who had spent 50 years preparing to fight superior foes. An enemy who viewed impossible as merely a challenge to overcome. An enemy who had promised to protect the innocent and meant to keep that promise. 2 months after the Battle of Nalari Prime, the war had transformed. The Chronaxian Empire, accustomed to easy victories against weaker species, found itself facing an enemy that defied conventional military logic. Humanity didn't just fight battles, they rewrote the rules of warfare. In her ready room aboard the Defiant, Commander Hayes studied intelligence reports from deep within Chronaxian space. The initial victory had bought the Nalari time to evacuate their civilians, but the Empire was vast. They needed to strike at its heart. Lieutenant Commander Okaro entered with fresh tactical data. The Second Fleet reports success at the Helios Nexus. Captain Rodriguez used our new quantum wake technology to disable their automated defense platforms. We now have a clear path to their core systems. Hayes nodded. The Chronaxians relied heavily on their cybernetic augmentations and AI-driven warfare. They never expected an enemy to turn that advantage into a weakness. And then Nalari? She asked. Ambassador Vera reports their refugee ships reached the safe zones we established. Their children are out of harm's way. Okoro's face hardened. She sent footage of what the Chronaxians did to their temple cities. It's worse than we imagined. Hayes accessed the footage, her jaw tightening as she watched. The Chronaxians hadn't just destroyed the crystal cities. They had systematically erased millennia of art, literature, and history. They sought to eliminate not just the Nalari people, but their very cultural identity. Signal all ships, Hayes ordered. It's time for Phase 2. The human fleet had adapted and evolved. Engineers had studied recovered Chronaxian technology, finding ways to counter it. Special forces had developed new tactics against cybernetically enhanced troops. But their greatest weapon remained uniquely human, the ability to innovate under pressure. Deep in Chronaxian space, their homeworld of Chronax Prime gleamed like a mechanical jewel. Massive orbital rings housed their shipyards and defense platforms. The surface was covered in sprawling metropolises, their architecture a testament to technological supremacy. In the Imperial Palace, High Commander Vyx, leader of the Chronaxian Empire, received disturbing reports. The humans weren't following any known strategic doctrine. They struck seemingly random targets, disappeared before reinforcements arrived, and left behind devastation that seemed to follow no pattern. They're primitives. Vyx raged at his war council. Their technology is inferior. Their ships are crude. How are they beating us? Admiral Zex, his chief strategist, displayed a holographic map of recent attacks. They're not fighting a conventional war, High Commander. Each strike seems random, but look at the pattern over time. The map zoomed out, showing dozens of attack sites. Individually, they seemed chaotic. Together, they formed a shape that chilled even the cybernetically enhanced Chronaxians. A noose, slowly tightening around their core systems. New contact. The alert blared through the palace. Multiple human signatures detected in the Thanatos sector. Vyx's artificial eyes widened. Impossible. That sector is defended by our most advanced automated platforms. No ship could penetrate. The palace shook as distant explosions lit up the sky. On the tactical display, human ships appeared inside Chronax Prime's defense grid. They had somehow slipped through using technology that shouldn't exist. How? Vyx demanded. How did they bypass our defenses? The answer came from his chief scientist, who had been studying captured human technology. They've been learning, adapting. Each attack wasn't just about damage. They were testing our responses, analyzing our technology. They found ways to use our own defense systems against us. On the Defiance Bridge, Hayes watched as Battle Group Delta executed the impossible. Using data gathered from previous encounters, they had developed a way to mask their ship's signatures to match Chronaxian patrol vessels. The defenders never saw the threat until it was too late. All ships, commence Operation Thunderstrike, Hayes commanded. Remember, minimal civilian casualties. We're here to end their ability to wage war, not to become what we're fighting against. The human fleet struck with surgical precision. Shipyards exploded. Defense platforms went dark. Command and control centers found their AI systems turned against them. It was a demonstration of everything humanity had learned about warfare in their 50 years of preparation. A transmission from the surface caught Hayes' attention. High Commander VYX himself appeared on her screen, his cybernetic implants glowing with rage. "You dare attack our homeworld," he snarled. "We are the supreme power in this galaxy. We are the future." Hayes met his gaze calmly. "No, you're a cautionary tale. A reminder of what happens when technological superiority breeds contempt for life itself. We're not here to destroy you, High Commander. We're here to stop you from destroying others." The battle for Kronax Prime would become legendary. Human ships, though outnumbered, struck with devastating effectiveness. Their crews fought with a combination of tactical brilliance and moral conviction that the Kronaxians couldn't comprehend. As the fighting reached its peak, Hayes sent a message to Earth. "The giant is fully awake now. And we remember exactly why we chose to sleep in the first place. Not out of fear, but to ensure that when we finally acted, we would have the strength to do what's right." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to witness something unprecedented, the surrender of the Kronaxian Empire. High Commander VYX, his cybernetic enhancements dimmed in defeat, stood before the assembly. Beside him, Commander Hayes represented Earth, while Ambassador Vera spoke for the Nulari. The contrast between them was striking, the mechanical perfection of the Kronaxian, the crystalline grace of the Nulari, and the unaugmented human who had changed the course of galactic history. High Counselor Genevier's voice echoed through the chamber. "We are here to witness the formal end of hostilities and determine the future of galactic peace." VYX spoke first, his mechanical voice humbled. "The Kronaxian Empire acknowledges its defeat. We submit to the terms set forth by Earth and its allies. Those terms have been carefully crafted. The Kronaxians would surrender their warships and dismantle their conquest machinery. They would pay reparations to the species they had harmed. But most importantly, they would be required to restore what they had tried to destroy. The Empire will dedicate its technological expertise to rebuilding the worlds we damaged," VYX continued. "Beginning with Nulari Prime. Our construction facilities will serve restoration, not destruction." Ambassador Vera's wings shimmered with emotion. "The Nulari accept these terms. We choose healing over vengeance, creation over destruction. This is the way of peace." Commander Hayes stepped forward. For 3 months since the Battle of Kronax Prime, humanity had negotiated this moment. They hadn't sought to crush the Kronaxians, but to transform them. "Earth has a proposal for the Galactic Council," Hayes announced. "For too long, peaceful species have lived in fear of those who would prey upon them. This ends today." She activated a holographic display, showing a new organization structure. "We propose the creation of the Galactic Defense Force, a volunteer fleet, led by Earth but open to all species, dedicated to protecting the innocent and preventing genocide." The chamber erupted in discussion. Many council members had feared Earth would use its victory to establish dominance. Instead, they offered partnership. "Humanity spent 50 years preparing to defend ourselves," Hayes continued. "In doing so, we learned that true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the will to stand against injustice. We offer this strength in service to peace." One by one, species pledged their support. The Nulari would contribute their expertise in healing and diplomacy. Even some Kronaxians, inspired by Earth's mercy and victory, volunteered to help protect what they had once sought to destroy. Later, on the observation deck of the council station, Hayes stood with Vera, watching ships from dozens of worlds moving through space. "Did you know?" Vera asked. "When you received our distress call, did you know it would lead to this?" Hayes smiled. "We knew only that someone needed help, and we could provide it. Everything else flowed from that simple truth." "The legends spoke of human warfare," Vera said. "But they never mentioned your capacity for mercy." "That's the thing about humans," Hayes replied. "We fight fiercely because we value peace so deeply. We understand that sometimes you must take up arms to protect those who cannot protect themselves." A group of Nulari children flew past the observation window, their wings catching starlight. They had been among the first evacuated during the war. Now they played in safety, their future secured. "The Kronaxians asked me once why we fought so hard for aliens," Hayes said softly. "They couldn't understand why we would risk our lives for another species. I told them that defending the innocent isn't about biology or borders. It's about recognizing the value of life itself. The Galactic Defense Force would grow beyond anyone's expectations. Earth's example inspired other species to emerge from isolation, to contribute their unique strengths to the cause of peace. The Chronaxians, humbled by defeat but uplifted by mercy, would eventually become among its strongest supporters. In the years that followed, when peaceful species faced threats from aggressive empires, they no longer called the Galactic Council first. They called Earth. And humanity, remembering the courage of a crystalline-winged ambassador who dared to hope for help, always answered. Ambassador Vera would later write in her memoirs, "They came from a single world, carrying the strength of giants in the hearts of healers. They taught us that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the will to protect." The humans awakened not just as warriors, but as guardians of all who cherish peace. The stars witnessed a new era. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the simple, powerful choice to help those in need. The sleeping giant had awakened not to dominate, but to protect. And in the endless dance of stars, that made all the difference.